my tears dry, and I've forgotten how you hurt me, and I remember how you loved me. Woo! Yeah. And I forgotten how you hurt me. The game just got real.
And it continues to be realer. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Fighting the Enemy. I am your host, Mr. Medina, or better known as Medinos. Just want to first and foremost say sorry for the small community I have that I fell off the map for like the last 4 months, 5 months. I have been really busy at work, especially around April, with school coming to a close and going through midterms and finals, and some contention I had with, sadly enough to say, my former employer now, and a lot of things that I needed to get get straight with my life, as well as ensuring that I finished strong in school, which I did. I ended up having excellent grades at the finish line there with the end of the semester. So most of the summer, not only have I been doing what I can to kind of take care of myself mentally speaking, and enjoying myself and using some of the funds that over the years that I have saved up and hoarded. But also I had to do my due diligence in finding a new position and role, because unfortunately my previous position didn't work out due to the fact that couldn't get a promotion or raise, although I know for a shadow of a doubt I deserved it and earned it. And so coming back at you now with some good and exciting news that I did find a new role, and I am making about 35% more than my previous role, and so of course really big cheesy smile about that. And I also want to obviously get back into the swing of things and get back into a battle rhythm here, into making videos, specifically more shorter videos, and of course get back to the live streams. And so, despite the fact that I've been I fell off the face of the internet, and not having any activity on the channel or my 1 or 2 social media handles, doesn't mean that I haven't been in the lab, sub-cellar B4 and whatnot, crafting and cooking up and concocting what I believe to be some solid material. Some of those things, just to kind of give you a preview of what's to come, is I do want to have my own little outrageous dating profile series, where I look at outrageous dating profiles and show and demonstrate how it reflects our golden acronym of hidden and what's wrong, and something else that I definitely do want to work on, more of a personal thing, to find a way to supplement my income. I'm still kind of drafting some ideas around it, is to give some career advice in terms of like resume writing, and really capitalize on my experience of being a recruiter and someone who, with my extensive vendor management experience, help out both civilians and more importantly for me especially, help out other veterans get their foot through the door, and give them the ins and outs and nuance information about the recruiting world, how it works, how to have a all-star excellent resume like I do, and knowledge that employers typically don't want candidates to know, in terms of negotiation strategies and what you should know and what you should do, especially if you're a more experienced professional in your field, in your role. More importantly to say, if you're more experienced in your craft, what things that you should know to further supplement being compensated more. And I say that because these last 90, 120 days, well, not 120 days, these last 90 days roughly, before I accepted a job offer, it was one hell of a rodeo. It was a very fun experience, and I say it was fun because I got to utilize everything that I learned from almost 5 years ago when I was at Wall Street to all of the negotiating tips and tricks that I learned at my last 3.5 years at my former my former role, was that I was a purchasing slash procurement professional. And so I would like to capitalize on that, help people, and make a couple of bucks, nothing crazy, a couple of bucks on the side, giving this guidance. And so I think the preferred platform some YouTubers use to kind of supplement what they do online is I think it's Patreon. And so I still got to continue doing my research on that, but that's something definitely look out for, as well as new additional content that still revolves around, of course, our good acronym hidden hedonism, right? Immaturity, delusional, double standards, um, elitism, and of course narcissism. I'm one of those people who can't move my pinky without moving my ring finger, so I know that kind of seemed odd, but happy to be back. Wanted to give that community update, if you will. And something else that I was thinking about the last couple of weeks before I decided to pre-record this video here was to make this analogy and how dating, right, and the getting to know you phase, which I think is the most crucial and paramount stage for modern dating and modern relationships, or should I say contemporary dating, contemporary relationships, is that the getting to know you phase. The most important step is what should make or break your decision as a guy, especially if you do have stuff going on. Like myself, if you're in a similar position in your life where you're commanding nearly every facet of your life, and no illegitimate kids, no baby mama drama, no alimony, no child support, steady, no debt. If all bases, if your floor is clean and there's nothing under your rug, no skeletons in the closet, if you're in a similar role, it's the make it or break it element of the getting to know you phase is vetting. And there's so many similarities, so many things that overlap and cross over as an experienced professional when I was speaking with potential employers. And of course they're vetting me, but I'm also vetting them at the same time. And that's the same thing in dating life when I'm dating a lady, and before I even take her out for the first time to eat or go watch a movie or whatever it is that we do. They're being vetted. They're being vetted because the idea is that I don't want things to be at the employer side is about not ending up at a dead end job, to make sure that there is some kind of career path or literal consideration, and I mean that in the legal sense, that can be done to supplement your years of service, i.e. Raises, right? Annual raise, biannual raise, bonuses, any kind of commissions that you can gain from successful contracting, et cetera, right? Things like that supplement your existence and rewards you for continuous years of service, where 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you're not making the same amount of money that you are year one, even though you're 3 times, 4 times the professional or more, more capable, because you develop yourself professionally as you should every year, 3 or 4 years down the road within an organization, within a job. And so it's the same logic when you're dating, you're picking someone. To obviously you're vetting them to see if they're wifey material, right? You want to see if those predisposed dispositions, i.e. moral, ethical values, are there, and if they have those things that you need to have to know that if you want to stick around with this person for the long run, if you want to be exclusive with them, emotionally and sexually with them over the long run. And so those elements, in my opinion, are the exact same. And And so just some notes, I'm looking down here just to look at some notes there, is that is to never allow someone to pull the rug on you, and that's very general. And what I mean by that, like to give you some examples of things that happened with me when I was vetting employers, is that I always ask for the employee handbook. If I have a strong inclination that the person that's interviewing me, the organization that's interviewing me, if I have a strong inclination that they're going to send me a job offer, I want to see the employee handbook, because I haven't interviewed with one employer, and not one, who when I asked them, um, is there a formal and informal practice of promoting or retaining, or is there some kind of program that the organization has that is designed to invest into their employees for the purposes of making them more promotable or setting them up for a leadership role? Not one, not one employer, despite the fact that they were lying and not being honest, not one employer said no, or they try to massage the truth and say, yes, there's room for growth. That doesn't mean anything. I want to see the employee handbook, and I want specific accounts of where this is true. And 99.9% of the time, well, I won't say 99, I'll say 95% of the time, it's in fact not true. And I don't want to be unfair, because some of these organizations are just much more smaller. They're not all Amazon size, FedEx size, UPS size, where they can do things like that. They have the resources to do things like that. But it doesn't help the fact that they're being dishonest or disingenuous to a degree, saying yes, knowing there's nothing to show for, or they're not willing to create considerations in the job offer to do it. So Chris, why are you saying all this? It's the same exact thing when you're vetting for wifey, when you're in the getting to know you phase, with a woman or lady that you're really interested in, you have the super hots for, and you're thinking, is this the one? Is this the one? The same logic, and I literally mean that in terms of the concepts in the abstract, in the conceptual abstract form, same logic applies. Does this person have those qualities that make you believe that this is going to last long, right? Right? Do they know how to cook? I.e., not necessarily for you, because every human being should know how to cook, because it's a survival skill. It's paramount to survival. You don't know when the next, heaven forbid, next pandemic happens or doomsday happens, and you got to know how to boil an egg, turn on the stove, how to make some rice and start a fire and things like that. Feeding yourself, obviously, an extremely important survival skill, because you can't survive without it. Right? The importance of maintaining your home, not dying to mold. The importance of how it affects your health to have a cleanly environment that you live in. And et cetera, right? There's other things I can mention as well, but I like to stick more on moral and ethical standards, in terms of like, are they susceptible to being complacent? Are they susceptible to being lethargic? Do they have short-term goals, long-term goals like you do? And if you don't, you should. Those kind of general discussions that, of course, you don't have to ask directly that way, but if they're willing to open up and if they're emotionally available, these things just flow naturally. And that's, of course, a part of the vetting process, right? If these things come up, or if they're not resisting to bring that information about themselves to the light, to bring it to your knowledge of those elements of their life, then obviously those are positive signs. But of course, again, it should never, in the getting to know you phase, it's extremely important to make sure that becomes clear and that comes up, because it's all about, the long game, right? You're playing chess, right? And in the same way you want to have a suitable, stable career, is the same way you want to have a suitable, stable relationship with, the woman that can handle the role, right? Handle your expectations, and you should always have expectations. Just because of contemporary society, socially speaking, and of course this is a social issue, not a political, not an economical. This is strictly a social issue, in my opinion. That where for some reason men with standards is like demonized and you're crucified and frowned upon, and screw all that noise. 100%, you should have standards. So and expectations. Uh, and another note I made here too, uh, to kind of further supplement the mindset that you're supposed to have in these scenarios, whether you're interviewing for jobs or you're enjoying a date or enjoying the getting to know you process with a lady who you're considering, being exclusive with, is to understand that you're always in control, right? You should never want to be very particular about how I describe this. It's not about convincing yourself that you're in control. It's not about convincing the other person that you're in control. It's about you having the inner solace, right? The inner peace and the utmost confidence in yourself to know where you're coming from when you make your demands, and particularly with the potential employer, but as well in a more modest sense when you're dealing with a woman, because obviously you don't want to scare them away because they have infinite options and you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. But again, you're in control, right? Like when I provide my counter offers, or when they ask me, hey Chris, what are your salary expectations, I tell them a number and there's no going down. Well, I never tell them a number, I always tell them a range, but there is no talking me down. It's either you meet or you don't. And the way I decide that number, of course, is based on what benefits and programs exist within the organization, right? The less of those that exist, the higher the salary. The more of those that exist, we go down in the range because it balances out. Same thing, same logic that dealing with a lady, right? Like if you're all about my program, if you're all about being a part of my life, well, it comes with the understanding that bills have to be paid, debt is not acceptable, and and you're in debt, you have to make an effort to pay that off, because it's only going to hurt our chances to own things together and make applications. And if I'm doing that alone, then it just undermines your role within my life. And but especially if I have to ask you to do something for me and you can't do it because you have terrible credit, and then people are after you, and then they're blowing up my phone asking me to pay off your debts. Like, that's not going to happen. And then I can provide other examples. Hopefully I am getting the point clear. And you want to make sure that the coast is clear, and that you have confidence when you say this, because it's not, you shouldn't tolerate things that are going to negatively, that have a potential, even if it has the potential of negatively impacting your life. They're like that is the reason why I have my expectations of said person entering my life, because it's like, you're not going to destroy the things that I worked hard to have and the position that I'm in. And so I say everything with the utmost confidence, and I don't back down from it, because it's no, I'm not losing anything by that person not being interested in walking away. So what fear should I have of being adamant about making my demands to said employer, to said lady who's alleging to be interested in being a part of my life, and vice versa? So again, you're in control, and you should be in control. And if you don't feel that way, then you gotta do some self-reflection and talk with some peers or career counselors or whoever to get yourself up there, so you can have that that adamant feeling to really project yourself and it's all a part of convincing someone, right, that you're worth that investment. So confidence obviously plays a huge key when you make your demands and putting your foot down. And the last thing I have here, I'm gonna wrap it up, that I intended for this video to be pretty short, was again, I do want to mention some of the things that are coming down the road. So like I said, look out for the Outrageous Dating Profile series. That's just me working on shorts, like videos that are even smaller than 20 minutes or a half hour, like these videos. And they're meant to be a little bit comical, right? Like I think that's something that the channel has yet to see, is more of my comical sense, which any one of my peers and loved ones know. They really enjoy that aspect of me. So I'm trying to find ways to bring that into the channel in a way that makes sense and doesn't seem superficial. Getting to know you phase, I'm still going back and forth if that should be a whole stream talk series or maybe another half-hour video. I'm still going back and forth on that. I gotta flesh out the details on it. I think it's such an extremely important thing to discuss and really set out in details what the parameters are of the getting to know you phase, and how it makes and breaks everything, and why it's so critical to set yourself that's the thing that sets you up for success, in my opinion, in a relationship. And again, I want to revisit the whole career services thing. I want to give myself the plug, and hopefully this video kind of convinces you, like, hey, Chris, Mr. Medina over here kind of knows what he's talking about. So I definitely want to convince people that I don't want to give too many things out here, because this is stuff that I want to try to collect, $10-15 here for whoever wants to have, that kind of discussion, or have them review their resume with them and give them like tips and tricks and how to, land a better job. Maybe it's just, you just want a better resume so you can increase the amount of recruiters that call you, or potential employers that would call you. Or maybe you feel like you're having a hard time keeping up with said industry, or you're not as competitive as you would like to be within your field, and you just need some guidance in how to refine yourself to really cut cleanly into better deals for yourself and have better job offers. And so, or maybe there's just maybe you just need to know what you can negotiate about, and what makes sense to negotiate about, or what's more practical. And so again, thanks again for anybody who's still sticking around. Please consider subscribing, giving a like or a thumbs down, and more importantly, feedback, comments. Really appreciate it. I do my best, unless you're writing something outrageous, I do my best to respond to comments or anything that, of course, you, the community, mentions to me. And really happy to be back. The next video I will be making is to make response videos in the little talk show series I had, Standing on Your Head, with Mike, Terry, and Tony Marie. And so I already started crafting my notes. I'm going to do that video later today, where I just wanted to do some highlights on all three of those videos. And I think it was a wonderful experience, and there's just certain things that I wanted to highlight that I agree with and that I thought was cool, and then there's certain things I want to highlight that I did not agree with, and I think it's what exacerbates the issues that men in particular experience today about getting into a marriage, and there being a lack of wifey material out there. And so with that being said, thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing all of you on the next one, and enjoy the rest of your day.